What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking About Baseball. Today, I will be doing my rankings for the left fielders. We are almost done with this series. Today is the 22nd of December now, and it is just about Christmas time. But anyway, let's get into it, ranking our left fielders. But before that, I just want to say I apologize for the video that I was supposed to upload yesterday and had to upload earlier today. Everything just went bad on my editing software. I don't really know why, but it's going to be good the rest of the series, I'm hoping, and it should be because this has never happened before. But also, you should go watch the rest of the videos before you watch this one. But anyway, let's get into it. At number 32, I have Cade Marlowe of the Mariners. He is their new left fielder after they've lost some pieces so far in free agency. I don't really think he's all that great, and that's why he's so far at the bottom. And I do think he has a lot of time to progress and get better, as this would be his rookie season if he ends up starting for them. At number 31, I have Nathan Lukes of the Blue Jays. He has one major league season under his belt, and he really didn't play all that much last year. He's a really fast guy and got a lot of stolen bases last year, but he pretty much was mainly used as a pinch runner and defensive replacement. He's not really all that great of a hitter, and I do not see him being the starting outfielder for Toronto because I do not see him being a starting outfielder by the time next season starts for Toronto. At number 30, I have J.J. Bleday of the Athletics. He was a top prospect for the Marlins and then in the minors just absolutely fell off, and he has not had a singular productive season in the majors so far. He has quite honestly just looked absolutely terrible in the majors so far, and if he isn't good this year, I think it's pretty much just time to give up on him. The Marlins already did, and if you get given up by the Athletics, that's pretty rough. At number 29, I have Stone Garrett. He looked pretty good for the Nationals for a little bit last year, but not a full season. He's really not all that good of a player either. His defense is atrocious. He's an alright hitter, but he's definitely not one of the best left fielders in the league and probably should not be a starter. I would say the same thing about number 28, and that is Cal Mitchell of the Padres. He is their new projected left fielder after they traded away Juan Soto. I think they will get someone to replace him, as the Padres have already been making some moves in free agency, replacing Josh Hader with Yuki Matsui the other day. At number 27, I have MJ Melendez of the Royals. He is a big power hitter, but his defense is absolutely terrible in left field. He was supposed to be a catcher coming out of the minor leagues and was a really solid prospect for the Royals, but his defense at catcher was never really all that great, so they figured they would just move him to a corner outfield spot or first base, and that has not worked whatsoever so far. He's just absolutely terrible on defense, and so far in his career, he's not been that great on offense either. At number 26, I have DJ Stewart of the Mets. He got DFA'd by the Orioles after playing garbage for them for quite a few years, and got picked up by the Mets at the end of the year. After the Mets traded away a lot of people at the trade deadline and had to deal with a few injuries, Stewart ended up being the right fielder to end the season, and he absolutely mashed. The only reason he's ranked this low is because he has had 2 months of productive baseball in his MLB career, and that is just not enough to get you much higher, but he's also the only guy at the bottom of this list who's even proven that he could be good, so that's why he's at 26. At number 25, I have new Detroit Tiger Mark Canha. Mark Canha got traded to the Brewers from the Mets, a guy that freed up some playing time for DJ Stewart last year, to the Brewers, and now he's gotten traded to the Tigers this offseason. The Tigers desperately need some more offensive help, and I think Mark Canha is just the start of that, because I do think that they're going to go out and sign a bat this offseason, because I think the Tigers should be a team that's going for it, because that AL Central is very weak, and they have a chance to be one of the best teams in it. At number 24, I have Joshua Palacios of the Pirates. He's a pretty alright guy. He mashes right-handed pitching, but can't really hit left-handed pitching at all. His defense is fine. He robbed a home run last year on a really nice catch that you'll probably be seeing in some point soon here. But anyway, I think he can be a solid young guy for the Pirates, as he finally broke out the last couple months of the season last year after not being able to find it for multiple major league teams. At number 23, I have Chris Taylor of the Dodgers. After his 2021-2022 breakout season, one of those 2 seasons were it. I think also he was pretty good in both. The last few years, at the end of 2022 and last year, have just not looked very good. He's dropped all the way to 23. He's definitely aging, and you can tell all of his stats has pretty much dropped, and he's posting career lows with the Dodgers because obviously since he's been with the Dodgers, he's been really good, and the Dodgers do that to everybody. Chris Taylor will probably be hitting very low on a Dodgers team that is locked and loaded for a World Series run next year, and they're obviously very ready based on the moves they've made this offseason. At number 22, I have Matt Wallner of the Twins. He finished 2023 very solid. He was an okay player all year as the Twins as a rookie, but at the end of the year, that's when he finally toned it up. He was absolutely crushing right-handed pitching as a lefty outfielder, and I think that if he's more of just a righty platoon guy, which he'll still be getting good playing time because most pitchers are right-handed, I think he would be a really solid left fielder for the Twins. At number 21, I have Brian De La Cruz of the Marlins. He was in a trade for Yimi Garcia that sent him to the Astros as a pretty low prospect, but Brian De La Cruz has actually looked pretty good for the Marlins based on what he was traded for. He's not really going to ever be a great player in my opinion, but I do think that he's a really solid major leaguer. But for a Marlins team that's trying to make a playoff push, I think he could be dealt to a different team because I think he does still have pretty solid value as he's pretty young. At number 20, I have Michael Conforto of the Giants. He spent a year off after not getting signed by anyone, and with the Giants for the past couple of years now, he's just looked really bad still. I don't really think he's all that good, but he's shown that he could be great in the past. I think the Giants are overpaying him massively, and that's kind of what the Giants just do now. They just spend on a lot of old guys that haven't really been good, take a chance on them, and usually it doesn't work, but it has worked on guys like Alex Cobb and Wilmer Flores recently. Like I said, though, Michael Conforto is a guy who it did not work out on, and I would kind of say the same thing that this next guy got a bad contract, and that is number 19, Andrew Benintendi. 2 videos in a row now that a White Sox is at number 19, last video it being Yoan Moncada. Andrew Benintendi was signed to a massive free agent deal, the White Sox biggest in history, 5 years, $75 million, and last year he did not hit very well. He's a big contact guy, only hit about 5 home runs last year, but his batting average was also terrible, and he finished with an OPS below 700, and he just did not look very good whatsoever last year, and his defense is pretty average out there as well. So if he wants to continue to be a solid player on this White Sox team, or just become a solid player on this White Sox team, which doesn't really have too many of them, he's going to need to start hitting for a lot more average or change something about his game. At number 18, I have free agent Jack Peterson. He was signed to a qualifying offer after a great 2022 season, but in 2023 he just was not quite as good. He did not hit as many home runs and for a worse average, but he's another guy who, if you just put him up against right-handed pitching only, he can still be a quality bat in your lineup only against right-handed pitchers because he's such a lefty pull hitter. That's really all he can do. I would say pretty much the same thing about this guy, but the opposite. He should really only be in your lineup against lefties, and that is Tommy Pham. He absolutely mashes lefties and did last year for the Diamondbacks. He had a career resurgence year last year, having a great season, and that's going to earn him some pretty decent money in free agency, I'm thinking. Even though he is an older guy, he's kind of like Justin Turner in my opinion. They both just had career resurgence years and will be getting solid money in free agency. I think that he's just another lefty masher. He's one of those outfielders who it's kind of uncommon now because most people who hit for a lot of power nowadays are kind of lefty guys who will just crush the ball into right field as a pull hitter, and sometimes there are righties, but I feel like lately it's been more lefties of guys like Juan Soto, Corbin Carroll, and other guys like that. But anyway, he still has a power bat from the right-handed side, which isn't dead per se, but I feel like there's more lefties coming into the league now that are power-oriented. And speaking of that, number 16 is Jared Kelenic, recently traded to the Braves. He just filled their biggest hole on their roster in left field because their projected left fielder before that was Forrest Wall. I don't even think he's played an MLB game before, and if he has, he definitely didn't play very well. Kelenic is coming off of a season where he ended his year breaking his foot in frustration, which could lead to an ego check for him with the Braves, because I'm sure they will fix him because, once again, just like the Dodgers, that's what teams like that do to every single player they have. He still has a ton of potential left in the tank. He just needs to prove it at the major league level, which he has not yet done, but I would not be surprised if he does do it next year for the Braves. At number 15, I have Brandon Marsh of the Phillies. He's coming off of one of his best seasons in his career, if not his best. He's still pretty young. He's been a defensive mastermind his entire career. He did move to left field later in the season for the Phillies after Johan Rojas got called up to play center for them, and he still played out of his mind on defense. He started the season amazing on offense, but as the season went on, he definitely regressed a little bit, but he definitely still had his best offensive season of his career and was a pretty solid role player piece for the Phillies, and I would say the same thing about Alec Boehm like I did in the last video. Brandon Marsh is just another guy who, if he can develop his bat like a lot, he could easily be a top 10 center fielder, because the center field position has kind of been dying in recent years. It's been carried by Mike Trout for a while, although it has had a resurgence this last year. Even though he is no longer playing center, he is in left. I think left field also, it doesn't really have the greatest of players right now, and he could easily break out into that top 10. At number 14, I have contact hitter Steven Kwan for the Guardians. He just pretty much never misses the ball, but also I don't even know if he can hit the ball farther than 330 feet. He has absolutely no muscle whatsoever, but his hand-eye coordination is absolutely amazing. He broke a record for the most pitches without missing a single ball or something in 2021. It was just an absolutely crazy record. He pretty much, when he swung, never missed for like the first 3 weeks or something. It was just absolutely wild for a rookie, and he's kept that up now. His defense is also absolutely outstanding, being a Gold Glove winner in the last 2 years, and his contact has not slowed down whatsoever. Although, like I said, he definitely has no power. At number 13, I have the brand new Red Sox, Tyler O'Neill. He got traded from the Cardinals to the Red Sox, and kind of a big deal, because Tyler O'Neill just 2 years ago was an absolute star, but since then just really hasn't been all that good. He's still a really solid defender, but hitting-wise, he's definitely fallen off a big cliff, and he's also been dealing with injuries the last few years as well. But if he can get back on track, he could be a big part of a Red Sox playoff push that, like I've mentioned, they've been trying to do this offseason, and I just do not see them doing it in such a crowded AL East and just AL in general. At number 12, I have Chas McCormick of the Astros. He's kind of like Tommy Pham, just he absolutely mashes left-handed pitching. He crushes left-handed pitching. Do not put him up against a righty, because he's pretty much just mid. I wouldn't say don't put him up against a righty, but against lefties, he is absolutely wild at the plate. He is so good against lefties. His defense is also pretty solid, and if he can become more of a well-rounded hitter, I would really like him as an Astros center fielder, as an Astros left fielder. He just needs to get more well-rounded and not only crush lefties and then be mid against righties, because, like I've mentioned previously in this video, most pitchers are right-handed. At number 11, I have Taylor Ward of the Angels. He got hit by a pitch in the face last year, which ended his season with a face fracture, but he's coming back for the Angels next season, and I think he will continue to be a really solid player. Last year, he was not quite as good as he was in 2022, but he was still pretty good for the Angels, and this year, if the Angels want to be good, which they've said multiple times that they do, Taylor Ward is going to need to perform very well, because I do not see this team doing very good with or without him performing well. Beginning the top 10, I have Spencer Steer of the Reds. He can play pretty much anywhere in the field and play everywhere terribly, honestly. He's an awful defender, but he can play a lot of different positions, and he's currently slated to play left field, as the Reds have a very crowded infield. His rookie season last year was absolutely amazing. The Reds completely fleeced the Twins in the Tyler Mahle deal, picking up him and Christian Encarnacion Strand, who have been big parts of their lineup the last few months of the season. Spencer Steer was amazing all year, though, and almost voted in to be an all-star, and I would not be surprised if he does get voted in next year. It's not like he was only good for a few months, though. Like I said, he was great all year long and kept up a solid average and home run pace all year. And now that a lot of the Reds rookies will be playing their first full season, like Ellie, Matt McClain, and Christian Encarnacion Strand, I would look out for the Reds, as personally I think they will be winning the NL Central next year. At number 9, I have Lars Nootbaar from the Cardinals. They have a very top-heavy offense with Goldschmidt and Arenado, and I think that Lars Nootbaar could, if he has a great season, be entered into that conversation as well. I personally think that Lars Nootbaar is going to break out this season and just be absolutely amazing. He looked really solid the last few years, and he just has not fully unlocked it, though. And like I said, I think this will be the year. Even though the Cardinals, I don't know how good they're going to be, because the pitching they've added is really old, I do think they're going to be much better than last year, and Lars Nootbaar is going to have to be a large part of that. At number 8, this might be a little bit too high for him, but I have Evan Carter of the Rangers. He only played less than a month in the major leagues in the regular season, but he was so good in the playoffs for the Rangers that he eventually got up to hitting in the 3 spot by the time the World Series was over. He was just an elite hitter throughout the playoffs, and I would not be surprised if he's an all-star and maybe even an MVP candidate just next year. I would be shocked if he doesn't win Rookie of the Year next year, because he looked so good even in the small amount of games he played, and I think the Rangers are primed for another World Series run because now he's playing a full season, and I think this regular season they're going to be even better than they were last year. At number 7, I have Austin Hayes of the Orioles. He was voted in to be an all-star after a few guys opted out. He was not originally one, but he did eventually get in. His defense is absolutely outstanding, along with pretty solid contact. He just doesn't really have all that much power. He's a really solid player for the Orioles. I don't know if they're going to be able to bring him back because their cheapskate owner doesn't even know if they're going to be able to bring back stars like Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, and Austin Hayes might fall victim to that. But I think that he's, once again, a big part of an Orioles team that played very well last year and will most likely play very well this year as well. At number 6, I have Nolan Jones of the Rockies. He's a big power lefty bat that, like I mentioned earlier, just absolutely rockets the ball to right field. Coors Field definitely does help him a little bit because once he went to the Rockies, he exploded. And also, speaking of exploded, that's what the ball does when it goes out of his hand. He has a cannon for an arm in left field. He can throw literally anyone out, reaching 100 miles per hour from left field. Might as well pitch him sometimes with how bad the Rockies' pitching is, because he can probably pitch better than anyone that they even have right now. And also, speaking of that, he plays left field, by the way, not pitcher. And like I said earlier as well, he's just an awesome bat, and that's only still his first big season, and he will continue to progress, in my opinion. Kicking off the top 5, I have Ian Happ of my Chicago Cubs. This might be a little high as he's coming off of kind of a down season, but he's just been consistently pretty solid and above average the last few years now, and I think he will continue to just progress because now that he's reaching his prime with the Cubs, and the Cubs are finally going to be a playoff contender during his career, this is the year I think that he really has a great season, even though he's coming off of one of the worst seasons in the last few years. At number 4, I have brand new Diamondback, but also recently re-signed Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Traded from the Blue Jays to the Diamondbacks last offseason and became a free agent after the Diamondbacks are fresh off of a World Series loss. But the Diamondbacks just brought him back on a 3-year, $42 million deal just the other day, and I think that he will be another big contributor for most likely maybe another World Series run for them. I think they're easily going to make the playoffs, even though the Dodgers have entered their division as just a perennial World Series contender. It looks like they're going to win the World Series with the additions they've made, and the Diamondbacks are going to have a lot harder. The Diamondbacks are going to have a much bigger job with way more expectations this year, and also they're going to have to sweep the Dodgers again, which I don't think is going to happen because the Dodgers, like I said, are geared up and ready to go. At number 3, I have potential trade candidate Christian Yelich of the Brewers. He looked really solid last year after having a few down years. In 2018, he won the MVP, and in 2019, he finished second behind Cody Bellinger. But since then, he signed a huge contract extension and then been absolutely terrible since just last year, and that's why he's ranked at number 3. He's been amazing in the past, and he was just really solid this last year, and if he can build on this last year and have another really good season, I think he could even go up to number 2. And at number 2 is yet another trade candidate, and that is Randy Arozarena of the Rays. They've already traded away Tyler Glasnow, and why not trade away rakes all night day year, Randy Arozarena? He's just an absolute monster of a player. He has great power, great speed, great contact, great defense. I would say he's just like really above average at everything. Not really great at anything, just pretty much like a 7. This is kind of a weird thing to say, but he's pretty much just like a 7.5 out of 10 at literally everything. He's just really above average at everything he does, and he's also extremely fun to watch. One of the most fun players to watch, along with Jazz Chisholm, Fernando Tatis Jr., who our guys are going to be in videos tomorrow and the day after that. But anyway, finally, at number 1, this is the guy following 2 guys who could be traded. This is the guy who has already been traded. He's currently technically projected to be the right fielder, but I do think that he will be playing left, and that is Juan Soto of the New York Yankees. He is coming off of kind of a down year, but also not really. His first year with the Padres, which was only a half year, was his worst year of his career easily. Although I think now that he is joining the Yankees, him and Aaron Judge might combine for 120 home runs, which would be 60 each. And honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised. Now that Juan Soto is joining the Yankees, he has that short right field porch. And if he was in Yankee Stadium last year at all of his home games instead of that pitcher-friendly Petco Park, he would have easily probably hit 10 more home runs than he really did, because there's, I'm sure, a lot of doubles or maybe even singles, because he's kind of slow, that just bangs right off the wall. That would be easy home runs at Yankee Stadium. Even though his defense is absolutely horrid and he's not very fast, his contact and of course his eye with the Soto shuffle, and obviously his power when he absolutely hits bombs, are amazing, and that is the main reason he is this high on this list. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you tomorrow for the center field rankings, and after that it'll be center field, right field, designated hitter, and on Christmas Day, the top 50 players of baseball. We're almost to the end of the series, and I hope you guys are all enjoying it. I'll see you tomorrow on Talking About Baseball. Bye.